This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So this class will learn about stomas, like like colostomy, ileostomy. So what are the indications? What are the complications? How does it function? So all this. So a stoma is an planned opening. Stoma. What does stoma means? Stoma is same. It's an opening made in the uh, it's a plan. You plan early, okay, or if it's an emergency also you do. It's an opening made in the either colon or ileum to divert the feces and flatus to external abdominal wall, where they are collected by an appliance, external appliance bag, something is there. So what is stoma? Once again, an opening, okay, you can call it planned, because even in emergency settings, okay, we'll plan where we should make this stoma. So stoma is an opening that is made in the colon or ileum to divert the feces and flatus to external abdominal wall, where they are collected by an external appliance. So that is stoma. So mostly stomas are of, you can classify, these are the various classifications of stomas. If the opening is made in colon, it is called colostomy. If the opening is made in ileum, it is called ileostomy. So if it is going to be a temporary temporary stoma, temporary colostomy, or temporary, so it is going to be temporary. If it is a permanent, I told you, abdominal perineal dissections and other malignancies, sometimes end colostomies or permanent colostomies, left iliac fossa. So permanent or temporary. Then again same, end colostomy or loop colostomy. So end colostomy means you have resected the other end of the bowel. So one end is coming out as an opening in the abdominal wall. So that is end colostomy. Loop colostomy is what you take out a loop of intestine. The other end is there. You make an opening on that loop of intestine and divert the flatus and feces. Later you can close. The other end is still there. It is not it is not cut or anything. So loop colostomy is mostly temporary colostomy. So, and what is this and loop colostomy and colostomy? So what are all the indications? So I told you in the previous class itself, colorectal cancer. No, this end colostomies are not usually favored by people. So unless it is unavoidable, so uh, we try to maintain the sphincter function and restore bowel continuity, or the avoid and try to avoid end colostomies. Okay, whereas loop colostomies, okay, you are going to close after even okay, loop this temporary ones you are going to close anyway. So uh, so it is not so much debilitating. So patient knows that he can go back to a normal life. Say like 2 months later or so. So mostly what are the indications? What are the indications? See, note down these indications. Suppose there's a bowel loop, bowel obstruction, acute bowel, this is an emergency, right? Bowel obstruction, multiple air fluid levels you will notice, then you open, then okay, there are some a complex tumor is there and you don't know the resectability or the the emergency here is bowel obstruction and it has to be relieved. So what you can do is you can do temporary colostomy or an ileostomy or loop ileostomy. You can bring out a loop of ileum and then divert the flatus fluid. Now the bowel obstruction is relieved. Then you can later you can do all these investigations like pass a dye through this or CT, MRI, other investigations. So in an emergency to divert the fecal matter and flatus, you can do ileostomy, a loop. These are temporary, so a planned procedure will occur later. So so one of the indications, bowel obstruction. Okay, if there is not much of fecal contamination, you can do resection and anastomosis at the same time. But if you fear that there is going to be fecal contamination and some other problems, it is best you divert the feces and flatus to outside through a loop ileostomy. So that is one indication. Or even in the same setting, note down second indication. Even in the same setting, suppose you have done some anastomosis or later you have done some anastomosis distally and you want it to heal. You want it to heal for for a period of time without contamination by the fecal matter. So to protect a distal anastomosis, you can divert the you can divert the feces and flatus outside through a loop ileostomy. That is nothing. See, this is simple. A loop of ileum is brought outside and open on an external abdominal wall. Here the flatus and feces is diverted. So, and also some injuries. Okay, third indication, you please note down some rectal injuries or injuries in the perineum, some penetrating trauma, something is there. So you have done some repair there. You have done some repair or some anastomosis or some repair you have done and you don't want any fecal contamination. So here also you can do a diversion colostomy. Ileostomy you can do. So depending upon where so to protect a distal anastomosis. So later on I'll tell you how we can later on this this loop that rent in the ileum or colon, whatever it is closed and the bowel continuity is restored. So these are temporary ones. So indications I told you. So bowel obstruction one, then to protect a distal anastomosis one, then and any emergency, some repair in the rectum or perineum, penetrating injuries. Some again same like repair means like an anastomosis you've done, but you still don't want it to function right away. So for that you can divert. So that is one indication. Then like high fistula in ano. the fistula and ano, I don't know if the class has been taken for you, somebody else is taking. So high fistula and ano, see this complex fistulas, high fistula and low fistula. Low fistulas you can easily remove the entire fistula tract, whereas high fistula will pass through the sphincters to the sphincters. So if you cut or remove, if you cut these, try to remove the entire fistulous tract while cutting, then some of these fibers will get cut, these sphincter fibers. So what happens? There will be fecal incontinence. So you don't want such things to happen. So or some repair you have done, high fistula. So fistula and ano, high fistula and ano, you have done some repair, or and temporarily you don't want any fecal contamination, then also you can do some ileostomy or colostomy and divert the feces and flatus to exterior. So these are all the indications. Okay, end colostomy or permanent colostomy, I already told you, after abdominoperineal resection, or mostly after abdominoperineal resection, there will be temporary, end colostomy. End colostomy, mostly it is there in end left colon. So end colostomy, mostly it is there in left iliac fossa. So these are the few of the indications for diverting the feces and flatus to exterior. So why are these openings, which are called stomas, colostomy or ileostomy? So there are few differences. Ileostomy, if you are making an opening in the ileum, to divert this feces and flatus. So here the content of the fecal matter will be, more liquid in ileum, because it is higher. Large bowel absorbs most of the water content. So whatever is coming out through colostomy is more solid, and the content that is coming from ileostomy is more liquid. And few more differences. Okay, ileostomy, so the output will tend to be large, so more than around 2 liters you can expect liquid content to come out through an ileostomy. So whereas colostomy tends to be solid, more solid, and lesser amount of output you can expect. So, and fluid and electrolytes. So these are the few differences between ileostomy and colostomy. So fluid and electrolyte imbalances can occur where? In the ileostomy. So whenever there is an ileostomy, so electrolyte and fluid imbalances we can expect to occur more in ileostomies than in colostomy. Colostomy, it's solid fecal matter. Okay, and so these are the differences between ileostomy and colostomy. So it depends where the obstruction is, what procedure you're doing. So depending upon that, you will choose the ileostomy or colostomy. So even if it is a temporary one, diversion procedure, suppose you are expecting it to be around 2 months to 3 months, then that stoma will mature. So mature stoma. So later, if you are going to close minimum 2 months time, that means, see, the loop of the ileostomy or you are bringing outside, and you are making a circular incision on the abdominal wall, and you go inside, then there will be rectus. Through the rectus fibers, you will pull the bowel loop up. So sometimes so the bowel loop which is coming outside, which is being brought exteriorly, comes out through the rectus, then subcutaneous, and through the skin where it is anchored. So loop will tend to be like a loop, like a bowel loop, like this, like a bowel loop, like a loop of bowel. Then you'll put a plastic bridge underneath and then open the above part. So this we need to show some diagrams. Okay, I'll get you in the next class. So but it is easy to understand. It is just a loop of intestine which is brought outside. So, and the other side is not cut. So this is loop. So end means the other side is cut, and this end is brought to the exterior. So so later this loop ileostomy or colostomy, they can be closed later. So before closing, you can give a diet through this distal opening and see if the dye is passing by coming out rectally. So proctogram you can do. Proctogram you can do and see. Then you can go ahead. Suppose it is just a loop ileostomy or colostomy, just a loop one. An incision is just made. So now this can be closed in a single layer or two layer. That's all. That is all that is required. Suppose you have done an ankylostomy and you want to restore, then you have to look inside in the pelvis for the other end of the bowel, which has been either closed or left as a mucus fistula. Then you bring both that end and this end together and do anastomosis, just freshen the edges and then do anastomosis, re-anastomosis. So this is how you will restore the continuity of the bowel. So after this, what complications we can expect when you are doing, after you have done any of these ileostomy or colostomy. So what complication you can expect? See, first I told you, okay, ileostomy, with ileostomy, you please note down these complications. So with ileostomy, the content is more liquid, so you can get fluid and electrolyte imbalances. So patient can get dehydrated because a lot of this content is more liquid, and it can go up to 2 or 3 liters. And if the patient is not supplemented with enough fluids, patient can be dehydrated, and electrolytes abnormalities like hypokalemia, hyponatremia, all this can occur. So you need to correct all this. So whereas with colostomy, the content is more solid. So so even though it is like colostomy, even though it is like little more solid fecal matter, so complications occur only with the higher ones. So suppose even higher up, higher the ileum, suppose it is like a fistula, some fistula is formed post-op, pancreatic, and all these are enzymatic rich. So even with ileum, you can expect some amount of skin irritations because of these digestive enzymes and all. Whereas lower down, it is more solid, and then not much of skin excoriation is there. So first is fluid and electrolyte imbalances that will occur. That is one of the first complications. Similarly, second is the skin irritation or skin excoriation. Please note down skin irritation or skin excoriation. So we'll fashion, so around the stoma you can apply zinc oxide or sucralfate ointments so that to reduce the inflammation, and then you can fashion the bag, the collecting appliance accordingly, so that there is not much of spillage around. So the second complication is skin irritation, that is avoided with the correct size external collectors, external bags or stoma bags which are there. They should be of proper size. Okay, so thereby you can avoid skin irritation or leakage, peristomal leakage and all can be avoided. So, and thereby you can protect the skin. So suppose a little bit of ulceration is there, you can use zinc oxide or sucralfate ointments. So that is about it. That's the second one. So fluid and electrolyte imbalances, if it is ileostomy, so then skin irritation. Then the third one is prolapse. See what bowel loop you have brought outside. So if it has not been anchored properly, or over a period of time, you know, the sutures have become loose, so it can come out a little more outside. So that is prolapse. So or it can go, see, that is the third complication. Please note down in an order. So that is prolapse or retraction, or the whole thing can go inside. Whole thing, if it becomes loose, then suddenly you know, the bowel with the opening can go back into the abdominal cavity. It is called retraction. So retraction of the stoma can occur, prolapse of the stoma can occur. Then if the sutures are too tight, the bowel loop which you have bought to bowel loop which you have bought exterior to, you know, divert the feces, so this can get there could be ischemia if the anchoring is too tight, or if some infection is there for certain reasons. Mostly if the sutures are too tight, it can get ischemia can be there, and the whole thing can necrosis can occur. So ischemia and necrosis can occur. So that is fifth complication. So that, and then sometimes over a period of time, sixth complication, the rent which you have made, the rent which you have made in the bowel loop, so that can get stenosed. So then again the, you know, output is decreased, and patient again will complain of distension, bloating, and again so stenosis can occur. So stenosis can occur. So that is what, seventh complication. Okay, then eighth, parastomal hernia can occur. Suppose, okay, round the stoma, or the other contents can come out. So parastomal hernia, other contents can come out from the adjacent side through the same opening which you have brought the bowel loop. So this is called parastomal hernias. Parastomal hernias in you know, are a little bit difficult to treat. So if you are okay, planning to if it is a temporary one, anyway you are going to put the bowel loops back inside, I mean close the stoma and restore the continuity, it is fine. But for an ankylostommy, if the patient develops parastomal hernia, then it is you know, a little bit difficult to treat. Then you have to again you know, reduce the hernia and they are placing the mesh, they are doing mesh repairs, but there is always risk of mesh getting contaminated. So because it is close to these it's close to this fecal matter and everything which is coming out. So parastomal hernia, that is one. So this is the eighth complication, I think so. So then the mucosal surface can start to bleed, or at the center bleeding can occur. So that is one complication. Then the whole thing can form like a fistula, so fistulation. So that is another complication. So this 4 marks question, or the whole stoma, if it is being asked as a essay question, then you can write all of these complications in an order. So and one more thing, okay, this mostly if it is a pre-planned surgery, then you'll take the help of a stoma care center. Please note down. So mostly in advanced I'm mostly in cities and advanced centers, or there are stoma care centers. So in this stoma care centers you can get this stoma bags which can collect the uh, feces and the flatus. Okay, so if it is a little more advanced, so the newer bags will prevent the leakage of there won't be much leakage, so there won't be a leakage of both flatus or feces. So and they can be changed uh, up till a week like that. So depends, okay, depends on the content too. So other less expensive ones you have to change almost daily. So almost daily changing and reapplying it is little cumbersome. Okay, so now if you're taking the help of a stoma care center, please note down these points. So that stoma nurse or stoma care people, they will come, and the stoma site is marked preoperatively itself. The stoma site. So if it is going to be in the left iliac fossa, so you will mark it in. You will make the patient stand and sit also in and then mark a convenient site on the external abdominal wall where the stoma can be brought out and anchored. So this is pre-planning. So with this both in sitting and standing and in all positions, the patient is comfortable with that. So we will see to that this stoma opening does not come in the skin folds or abdominal folds, or uh, it is a little away from the anterior superior iliac spine, and it is in a comfortable position for the patient. So this pre-marking of the stoma site can be done early, but with the help of a stoma nurse. And also you can uh, plan for what sort of devices you can fix there. Like you want to change the stoma bag on a daily basis, or you want to change weekly, depending upon that. And so it is good that if we take the help of a stoma care center people or a stoma care nurse, and then pre-mark mark the site before the surgery. So this can be done mostly in elective. So post-operatively also they will come and assess. If the stoma bag is fitting snugly and there is no peristomal leakage and skin damage and all that. So So this stoma care centers, it is useful. So mostly in cities and in advanced centers, we have, you can write stoma care centers, and stoma care personnel or stoma care nurse will help you preoperatively in marking the suitable site for a stoma, and post-operatively also in managing the stoma and managing a few complications of the stoma also. So obviously something like parastomal hernia, that requires some surgical intervention, but rest of the complications can be managed by stoma nurse. So stoma care center and stoma nurse, you please mention about that. So previously, did I tell you about enterocutaneous fistula?
No, sir.
No? Okay. See, enterocutaneous fistula means it is, see, stoma is what? Stoma is, I told you, colostomy or ileostomy. A loop, a continuous loop, or an end portion is brought, an end stoma or a loop stoma is brought, temporarily to divert. So what is enterocutaneous fistula? Fistula is a connection, a track between, it could be from small bowel, it could be from large bowel, it could be from pancreas, it could be bile. So from anywhere, a tract which is communicating from skin to the uh, uh, another organ inside. The whole thing is lined by granulation tissue. So there are two openings to a fistula, whereas sinus, it's a blind tract. So one opening only will be there. The other end, there is a blind end. So that is sinus. So here we don't have, don't get sinus. So mostly it is enterocutaneous fistula. So post-operatively, if some biliary surgery, pancreatic surgery, or some bowel surgery has been done, or a large bowel surgery has been done, and post-op, for various factors, nutrition is not good, patient is anemic, and hyperproteinemia is there. So there could be, so or some other underlying cause. Mostly, suppose post appendicectomy, a fecal fistula is occurring, where the appendix is, at ileocecal junction. So appendix surgery has been done, appendix has been removed. Now post-operatively, there is, the wound has not healed, and there is fecal matter coming out from that. That is fecal fistula. So why did that happen? So maybe while there is while doing the surgery, there is a big rent has been made in the cecum, and they missed it, ileocecal junction, or underlying some other, these factors are important. Underlying some other thing, malignancy is there, cecal malignancy is there, large bowel malignancy is there, right colon malignancy is there, or some inflammatory bowel disease is there, Crohn's disease is there, so the wound has not healed, and now it has formed fecal fistula. Okay. So these are called enterocutaneous fistula. They can occur mostly, post-operatively due to various other reasons. So just like I told you in stoma, the same things will happen. The same things apply here to enterocutaneous fistula also. I'll tell you in order. First, the topmost priority is protection of the surrounding skin. Protection of the surrounding skin. So if the content is, I told you, if the content is more liquid, then more chance of digestive enzymes leaking, and then then the digestive enzymes touching on the surface of the skin will destroy the skin. Skin gets excoriated and it is destroyed. Then the whole thing becomes messy. So the top priority goes for protection of the skin always. So Here also, once that cutaneous fistula is formed, you put a stoma bag there to collect the whatever content is coming out. So limit contamination to the skin. So protection of the skin is very important. So use again, if there is excoriation, use ointments, basic ointments, zinc oxide, sucralfate, all these things, and a little more sophisticated preparations are there. Protection of the skin is very important. So, and also, okay, yeah, limit contamination, apply a stoma bag or external collecting device, then make sure there is no excoriation to surrounding skin. Then second, again, fluid and electrolyte imbalances, whatever they are, you correct. So high output, so certain textbooks give high output fistula, high output fistulas as 500 ml, then low output less than 200 ml, all this. So certain textbooks give almost as 1000 ml as high output. So more output is there, okay, we try to decrease the output, that means you try to make the content more solid. How you can do, you can give loperamide or some other drugs which can make the content more solid and less liquid. So the danger is there with high fistulas, biliary fistulas, pancreatic fistulas, then higher small bowel fistulas. They are all rich in digestive enzymes, so which can destroy the skin. So protection of the skin is important. Next, fluid and electrolyte imbalance is important. Then next, suppose you find that you want to limit contamination, so you stop you stop enteral feeding and start total parenteral nutrition. Give that nutrition via put a central venous line and give parenteral TPN, total parenteral nutrition, until the infection everything subsides. Then you feel that it is safe to use the gut, then you can start. Otherwise, if you feel that there is more sepsis, more contamination, and patient is not is ill and not tolerating this, then stop giving enteral feeds. You put the patient on IV fluid and total parenteral nutrition and supplement with IV fluids. So that is third. So first is what? Skin protection is topmost. Then fluid and electrolyte abnormalities. Then nutrition. Okay, you give either enteral or depends. Depends upon the patient status. If needed, go for total parenteral nutrition. Then what Bailey and Love says, SNAP approachment to treatment of fistulas. SNAP, I'll tell you what it is. SNAP. Snap, snap or a photo, like snap, SNAP. So here S stands for skin. First, skin protection is important. I told you, skin protection, and also S stands for avoid sepsis or eliminate sepsis. Eliminate sepsis or infection. So first is skin protection. Again, the same, one more S. The whole thing is SNAP only. SNAP treatment. So here S stands for skin. Then again, skin and what is this? Sepsis elimination. Eliminate sepsis. Then N stands for nutrition. I told you, either total parenteral nutrition, TPN, total parenteral nutrition, or if needed, you can use the gut. But make sure the patient is in adequate state. Okay. Like there is no anemia, hyperproteinemia is corrected, and so that is N stands for nutrition. Then A stands for later you pass. A stands for anatomy of the tract. So later, obviously, this fistula has to heal. So I'll tell you two things out of practice and this thing. So even though the fecal matter is coming through the uh, colostomy site, and patient is able to also pass a little bit through the if it is not an colostomy but only loop. I mean here fistula, obviously fistula here it is a intracutaneous fistula. So okay, the same thing, the patient passes the feces is coming through the fistula opening, but even then perirectally if the patient is able to pass, so with the good nutrition and low output fistula, the intracutaneous fistula can close spontaneously. Spontaneous closure can be achieved. We have done this here. So there are certain fistulas which have closed spontaneously without a need for surgery again. They have closed spontaneously, and patient is now, of course, there will be some amount of what is this a scarring on the abdominal wall and all that, but that is not important. What is more important here is gut continuity is restored and patient is able to pass stools per rectum. So gut continuity is restored. So low output fistulas, all these things, and with good nutrition, we can expect spontaneous closure of the fistulas. Whereas high output fistulas, all these things, then we have to assess. We have to know the anatomy first. So pass, do fistulograms or get an MRI study of the whole thing. That will tell you correct delineation of the tracts. So where the fistula is going, where this end is going from, and to which organ it is going, and is it a single tract or multiple tracts are there. So all that. So anatomy can be clearly defined using soft tissue delineation is always better with MRI. So MRI fistulogram. So MRI fistulogram is not available. You pass a radio opaque dye through the fistula opening and then get a normal fistulogram. So either anatomy of the fistula tract, intracutaneous fistula tract, you should know. That is important. SNAP treatment. So A stands for anatomy. Then P stands for planned surgery. So finally, if there is no spontaneous closure, so what P stands for planned surgery. So it is a complex fistula or high output fistula, is not going to close on its own. Then you have to intervene and plan a definitive surgery, resect whichever all this thing, and then aim is to restore bowel continuity so that patient can pass stools normally and have a normal life. So that is a SNAP treatment. That is SNAP treatment. Okay. So certain pneumonic, I'll tell you why an intracutaneous fistula is not going to close on its own. So one, I told you already, some high output or complex fistula, but there are certain fistulas which you expect to close. What drugs can you give to reduce the fistula output? Loperamide, these things, okay, enterally, but otherwise other octreotide injections can be given. Octreotide injections can be given to reduce the fistula output. Okay. Then you please note, make a note of all these. Okay. Then what I'm going to tell you is why the fistula tract is not going to close. That means you know it is a low output fistula, and you know patient is in a good nutritional status, and you expect the fistula to close on its own, but certain times it won't close. So please note down this mnemonic: friend, you know, like friends, FRIEND. So this mnemonic, you know, is there in most of the gastroenterology textbooks also. Gastroenterology textbooks, you know, big books which related to so this is not taken from and I've seen most of the, you know, other doctors or gastroenterologists say anybody think in these lines: why the fistula is not closing. So this mnemonic is important, so you can write it down. So it is there in most of the textbooks. So friend means, I'll tell you each letter what it represents. So you keep these things in mind, then you'll know why the fistula tract, which is expected to close spontaneously, is not going to close. So F stands for foreign body. Friend, right? FRIEND. So F stands for foreign body. There is some foreign body in the tract, so in the fistula tract. So it is not going to close spontaneously unless you locate, remove it, you know, or if there is a foreign body, it is not going to close. Okay. Then R stands for radiation. So this fistula has occurred, you know, as a result of, you know, radiotherapy or something, exposure to radiation. So these type of fistulas are less likely to close spontaneously on their own. So radiation. So friend, FR, I told you, foreign body, radiation. Then I stands for infection. So there is some severe infections. Severe infection is there, not adequate antibiotics. Adequate antibiotics are not given, so it is not going to close. Then I also stands for inflammatory bowel disease. Inflammatory bowel disease, something like, you know, this fistula has occurred due to underlying Crohn's disease. So it is not going to close on its own. So Crohn's disease. So fistulas are more common with, you know, Crohn's disease. Transmural disease, from mucosa to serosa. Transmural disease is more common in Crohn's, whereas mucosal disease is more common in ulcerative colitis. So this will deal in at some other class. So underlying inflammatory bowel disease is there. So FRI. So E stands for, just a minute, epithelialization. So what is epithelialization? So the entire fistula tract, so epithelium, you know, this is epithelium. So same from outside skin, the epithelium starts to go inside. So go inside, and the entire fistula tract got epithelialized. So epithelialization of the fistula tract means there is no spontaneous closure. So I'll tell you, a wound will close, wound will close between two raw surfaces. So the raw surfaces have to be there. So this is fistula, epithelialization has been done, epithelialization, then there is no, it is not going to close. So you have to, uh, take out the tract, or make, usually when epithelialization occurs, you freshen the edges, you cut off this side surface, scooping is not very effective. You have to just just cut off the front layer epithelium on this side and that side. You can hear me? So epithelialization is one of the reasons. Can you hear me, or is there any disturbance?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Oh, okay, thank you. So epithelialization will not, once the fistula tract got epithelialized, there is a tendency that it's not going to heal. So friend, E stands for epithelialization. Then N stands for neoplasm. Somewhere there is a malignancy in the fistula tract. So then malignancy is there, then there is no healing. You have to reset the whole thing and throw it out. Sometimes some malignancies can present as strictures, like, but fistulas, okay, some underlying malignancy is there. Suppose this is fecal fistula and right side of the lower abdomen. So right colon, there is some right colon cancer is there, and there the fistula tract is formed. Fecal matter is coming outside, so it is not going to heal. So malignancy it will not heal. So FRIEND. N stands for neoplasm, and D stands for distal obstruction. So if there is a distal obstruction, so distally there should not be any obstruction. Patient should be able to pass, fecal matter per rectally. So then you can expect this one to heal properly. So as the patient becomes more and more healthy, the enterocutaneous output becomes, fistula output becomes less, and patient passes more fecal matter per rectally, and the whole tract will close. So when you are expecting a spontaneous closure in a low or moderate output fistula, and for some reason it is not closing, then these are the probable reasons. Friend, foreign body, radiation, infection, and not irritable, inflammatory bowel disease. Then E stands for epithelialization, N stands for neoplasm, and D stands for distal obstruction. So this is the you have to keep these things in mind and eliminate one by one. Okay, so this is when a fistula is expected to close spontaneously. So and it is not closing, so these are the reasons. So whereas complex fistula with multiple tracts, or a high fistula, like biliary and pancreatic fistula, some tract connecting from biliary tree or pancreas to outside, it is rich in enzymatic, those are really very difficult to manage. So other than that, these. So I told you stoma, what are that is temporary stoma, permanent stoma, end stoma, loop stoma, colostomy, and ileostomy. Indications I told you. Then the later, usually when the stoma is mature, stoma is mature, you can plan for a closure. and restore the bowel continuity. So, and stoma care center, I told you preoperatively and postoperatively how they can help you. Preoperatively, it's the stoma site marking suitable site so that it doesn't fall in skin folds and all that. Suitable site. And post-operatively, the stoma bags, stoma appliances, all these things. Then complications of stoma, I mean, these complications of stoma, I told you, all those 10. Then few examples of enterocutaneous fistula, I told you. Because stoma is what it's man-made. It is, the surgeon makes a stoma to divert the what is this feces and flatus, whereas enterocutaneous fistula, so it is a a fistula tract from GI to outside. So since both they open on the external abdominal wall, sometimes there can be complex internal fistulas. We are not dealing with that. Just enterocutaneous fistula, cutaneous outside. So that is what I am telling. So, and what what is the approach? Snap approach, I told you, and how the fistula tract can be closed, and a spontaneous enterocutaneous fistula, why it doesn't close. That friend Newman, please remember that. So sometimes even in ward rounds and all, when we were residents and all, some of the leading doctors, I mean surgeons, gastroenterologists, most often when you look at why a fistula is not closing, so this you think of these factors first. Friend, foreign body irradiation, then infection, inflammatory bowel disease, epithelialization, neoplasm, and a distal obstruction. So keep these in mind, rule out one after the other, then hope the fistula tract closes on its own. It is not going to close, then it will need a surgical intervention. So am I clear? So I told you about, any doubts?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts, you please send through WhatsApp. Dr. Pawan, please let me know. Go back and read. So once you read this, so this is not very complex, very easy to understand. So then you will be able to write, either 4 marks question or an essay question. So this mostly colostomy or ileostomy like that, or enterocutaneous fistula, they can ask as 4 marks question, or maybe if somebody is serious, then maybe the enterocutaneous fistula management, etiology, everything, they can ask as essay question or something. So, but anyway, the same principles apply. So one is man-made, stoma is man-made, doctors, the other one due to various ill health and all that, it has occurred, enterocutaneous fistula. Management of these, I told you. Any doubts, you please ask, or please send them across. So that's about it. Next class, I will discuss something else. So all these in an order, I'm telling you, mostly etiology, or classification. Then so make it a point to write in this. When you may not remember all the 10 complications of, okay, if you remember very well and good, 10 complications of stoma, that retraction, prolapse, necrosis, and all these. So, or put subheadings and at least write few points, then you'll get more than pass marks. So If you can remember, go back and go through. All this is from Bailey and Love only, mostly. Mostly undergraduate teaching, we follow Bailey and Love. So only certain few points. This friend point is not given from Bailey and Love. It is from other gastroenterology. Whereas the SNAP treatment and all is from Bailey and Love. So that's about it. Thank you. Next class will deal about some other topic. If anybody wants any more topics, you please let us know. I think we have like I don't know, maybe 8 more classes. Okay. So please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.